Good Saturday morning to you. How you doing? Well, it's actually 12:30, so it's in the afternoon now. Yard sailing was very poor today. May go to Jewett City Flea Market tomorrow. Even that would be the three Sundays in a row that I went. I want to give you an update on this radio. This radio has been performing perfectly. I listened to the Hams again, the 80-meter band, for over an hour last night, and no static. Now, what I did, I followed some suggestions. I cleaned all the switches again, even though I have done it when I first got the radio. I used a deoxit, and I cleaned all the switches, the band switches, the toggle switches, the potentiometers. I cleaned everything. I could not get this thing to make that static. When it makes the static, you can take off the antenna, short out the antenna, turn the sensitivity control all the way down, and you would hear a lot of static. It has not been doing that. I will turn it on now, and all you'll hear probably is interference from the light. To try it one last time, because I'm going to have to put this back into the case. It's working perfectly. I'm going to be working on an outside antenna pretty soon. I just have to get some insulators or make some up out of PVC tubing, I guess. I have some scraps. I can probably make insulators out of that. My longest continuous run is 30 feet without interfering with any trees. And I'm not going to be able to get the wire up into the trees because the branches are way up there, and I can't sling it up there with a rock on a piece of string or anything like that. So it's probably going to just be tied up maybe 6 foot off the ground. So worry about that later. But anyways, I want to show you this radio. Then I want to show you a couple of little things that I picked up today at one yard sale. Now, while the radio is warming up, I followed the suggestions of running the Variac. I dropped it way down to 110 volts. And other than getting a little weaker in volume, it worked perfectly. Now, right now, I'm on the 80-meter band, so we got to switch that on the AM. That's the local. Turn that down for the copyright problems there. We don't need that. Very stable, no drift. Perfect. Now, normally, the volume is down. I turn the sensitivity control down, and with the sensitivity control down, antenna disconnected, and the volume up, I would hear all kinds of static. I'm not getting anything now. All I'm getting, I just turned it up now. You can hear a tiny hum. So the noise never came back. I went over this and over this and over this constantly, and nothing is loose. I checked my solder connections. I checked the tube sockets. It's perfectly quiet. Yet, when I first put it on the bench, before I hooked up my scope probe, which is still hooked up to the ICO 147A, used as a audio input to the high side of the volume control here. Before I connected that up, this thing was making all kinds of static. It was doing it for quite a while. As soon as I hooked this up, static went away. I take this off, it's nice and quiet. So it's not a matter of this being on there to make the noise. doesn't make any difference. Oh, it's wedged in there now. I can't let this music play, and the copyright Nazis will be on me. Well, I got the scope probe. There it goes. Okay, let's take that off now. No difference. I'll turn that down. Nope, it's off. Got the scope off. Scope probe, which is connected to this. Volume's all the way up, sensitivity's all the way down. We'll take the antenna off. We'll ground the antenna wire. Oh, that is a hole there, I think, isn't it? Yeah. We'll ground that. Uh-oh. Hear it? I'm sure glad it's making some noise now that I can show you, but it's very faint. The volume's all the way up. You don't hear it when you turn the volume down. I don't know if you can hear that. It's not very loud. That's the kind of static I've been getting, but much, much, much louder. All right, I've got the radio hooked to the ICO 147A to the high side of the volume control right here. Common is to the common negative, because it hums like a banshee if I go to the chassis. No static. And the speaker over here for the radio. There's just a little tiny bit of noise in there, but very, 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 very faint. And now I just turned the sensitivity control up, and I'm just touching the antenna wire here. So that's understandable. But what was happening before is I was getting the static even with the sensitivity control down and grounding out the antenna wire. So in other words, there was no signal coming in here. And I was getting all kinds of static crashes and everything in here. But right now it's quiet. The volume is all the way up on the radio. And nothing there. And the ICO, probably up a little more because that's more sensitive. Relatively quiet. So I really don't know. It's been performing good. I've been listening to the hams the last few nights. It's working good. So I have no idea what's going on. As I said, I cleaned everything in here, even though it wasn't making the noise. So it's a puzzler. I know what's going to happen. I'll put it all back in the case, and it'll be Racket City once again. So if it gets too bad, I just won't use it, that's all. If it isn't acted up, you can't fix it. As I said, intermittent sets are the hardest to work on, and if it isn't messed up, it can't be fixed. Oh, I'm hearing something here. Yes. The problem is it takes so long and a lot of video time. That's the kind of static I was getting, but much, much louder. Remember, I got this ICO 147 connected to the high side of the volume control. So I'm receiving the input from the detector. Right now it's stopped doing it. Alright, well, I'm in the shop here. I picked this up for, I think, about $2 at the 1 yard sale I did go to. I can probably use that in my shop here. It has a, let me take it out of the box and show you. It telescopics open like that as like a monopod, and it's got this base part on here with another screw for a camera. So this could probably be improvised for a some kind of a camera mount for my shop out here. So I picked that up. Like I say, I think I paid $2 for it. And everything's loose now because I got to just tighten up that nut on the, the thumb wheel on the top right-hand corner there. I checked it all out. It seems to be just fine, almost like brand new. He unscrewed the thing off the top here, and the thumb wheel fell off, so I got to screw it back on. It holds the bottom, and you can adjust that. So it's quite versatile and can be adjusted in many different ways here. So I'm sure that that'll come in handy for my shop. Now I'm going to take you outside, because this isn't making any noise other than a tiny, tiny bit of noise. Very, very faint. So I can't give you any more updates on this. We're just going to shut it down now. Shut the radio off. Alright, I paid a couple dollars for these two items here at the same yard sale. This 14 gauge speaker wire. Not that I need it, but didn't want to pass it up. These are not working properly, and I took part of it apart. I put a question mark on it because I have a good pair of these, but it's made for the heavy wire, like the 10 gauge and the 12 gauge for electrical wiring. This one does the thinner wiring, but I want to show you something on this. There's no adjustments on this, but it don't seem to be gripping the wire. It strips the wire when it does grip it, but it does not grip it most of the time. So let me put you on a tripod. Okay, as I said, I got these wire strippers at that yard sale where I got this wire here, and where I bought that little monopod, if you want to call it, that I showed you in the shop. The problem with this is, this thing here doesn't hold the wire. Very, very weak. So, very hard to demonstrate this because I'm working upside down and I don't even know if I'm in camera or not. And I'm not on macro because I'm about 1.5 feet away. But let's just show you here. Alright, she's in the proper socket blade. Okay, she's caught here. It's sometimes will work good, other times it won't. Works perfectly now. Alright, the next time I go to use it, it won't hold. It's holding now. But usually it don't hold in here very good. I had taken these two screws out, took this piece out, and all it does is hook into a little bar when there's a little hole in the end of the thing, and it's curved. I was going to take it and stick it in the vise and flatten it out, but I think it's supposed to have a curve in it. Right here. Now let me get you on macro. Hang on a minute. Okay. in this part here, down here, it's flat here. But then this curves up. There's like a, you see this? This thing here pulls on this piece here. Okay. And presses down on this to catch your wire. But I played around with it and I tightened the screws back up, but it seemed to work better if I left the screws loose. That's not supposed to be the case. Right now they're tight and it seems to be working fine, but it's intermittent. It doesn't always work properly. Like I say, I got a pair like these, a different brand, and they work really well. And never had any problems with them. So, as you're looking at this, I don't have anything to point, I'll have to use my finger. This area here is all flat. But from this screw down this way, which is roughly about a ½ inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch, you see this bar here? It goes into a slot in this piece of metal, and this piece of metal from this screw out is curved up like that. So as you're looking at it, it's got a curve like that. That kind of blends with the handle, I guess. So, and this piece that moves up and down has the same curve in it. So I was thinking, well, maybe the thing got bent somehow, and I was going to take both pieces and stick them in a vise and flatten them out. But I think they're made that way. So right now it's working, but sometimes it'll stick. I oiled it and everything else. This side here, where the cutter is, seems to be just fine. And I don't know if there's supposed to be a screw in here or not, because this side has 2 screws. This side only has 1 screw, but that's not what my problem isn't on the cutting side. My problem is on the holding side, because what these do is, when you put your wire in, and I'll try to demonstrate that again. You put your wire in, and this is made for right-handed people, and I'm left-handed. You put your wire in like this, and you put it into the gauge of the cutter that you want, and this comes down and holds the wire, while the other side strips it. Now it's working perfectly now, working very well. But for some reason, when I first got it, there's no adjustments here. These screws just go in. There's no movement of adjustment. For some reason, this thing was coming down, but it was just barely touching the wire and was not holding the wire. The cutter was ready to strip it, but you couldn't pull it off because this wasn't holding. Right now it is, but it is intermittent. It doesn't work all the time. So anyways, that's probably why I got it cheap. Okay, now I want to talk about the antenna and the way I was planning on running it. This tree here that's right near the shed, I'm going to climb up on the roof, you know, the old roof goat, and I could probably, on those 2 little saplings coming out, I could probably tie a little rope around there, let it hit the sapling so it doesn't slide down, put an insulator on. Well, if I use rope, I probably wouldn't even need that, but rope will rot away. And that will probably be, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 feet. I stand on the roof and hook my wire there. And what I'm planning on doing is to have probably the wire coming off the insulator going, the bare wire. By the way, I priced electric fence wire. They want $16. You got to buy the whole roll. It's like 500 feet or something like that. The maximum length that I can run here is about 50 feet. That's about it. And I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to come down here at an angle. Then I want to have some kind of an insulator right here. And at that point, I'm going to run coaxial. And Mike, my good buddy Mike, who calibrated my scope, he's a ham operator. He's as high as you can go. And I asked him, does it matter if I use 75 ohm or 50 ohm? It's not going to make a bit of difference for short wave, and it's only going to be coaxial. Coming, once it gets to the shed, it'll be coaxial from that point into the shed. So I'll have a piece of antenna wire. It'll be terminated here, and then I want to have a ground going down. Now it's all rock here. You can't get a ground rod more than a couple feet into the ground. So I'll put a ground stake here, but then I got to get a lightning arrestor. Okay, from this tree, I have a choice. I can run it from this to here. You see that dead limb right there? Well, I know I can swing something up there and get the wire to go up there. That's 35 feet from there to there. I don't want to run that way because then you got the power lines out there and they're going to pick up more interference. I could run the line. Years ago I used to have a wire that ran from one end of the yard to the other. I could run that way. My other choice is from this tree to this tree right here. But as you can see, I can't get it up high enough to get away from these little saplings here. So, you see that? So what I'm going to have to do is tie my ladder against this tree and go up as high as I can go, which would probably be about maybe 8 feet at the most off the ground, and it may not clear all this. But there's the tree from the back of the shed. This is the back of the shop you're looking at. So I can go that way. I don't want to go that way and pick up more interference from the computers and stuff. So if I go anywhere, I want to go that way towards the brook, but there's a lot of little trees in the way. There's another tree here, but I don't have a way of putting it up there. There's no branch coming off to sling it. And then you got this one here. Got this one right here. It's quite a ways out, but that's really high up there. If I can get a string with a stone on the end of it, and I'm not very good at throwing. I never was any good in sports or anything. So I can go there, and that'll give me a little more distance. Probably about another 30 feet. So the total distance I would say is about 50 to 60 feet. But from there, you got to contend with this. You got to contend with all that and through there in order to get there. Or a little shorter shot here. Or the easiest thing for me to do would be to run it from here to that other tree I showed you with the dead limb coming off the side. Right there. Anyways, I have to get some insulators, and I gotta get some kind of a lightning arrestor. But even if the antenna is only 30 or 35 feet long, it's a lot better than what I've got now, which is only about a 6-foot piece of wire. Right close to all these CFLs and LED lights. LED lights make just as much noise as the compact fluorescent. Earlier in the week, was at Home Depot, and I got this piece for $1.01, and this 1/4-inch Luan here for $1.01. And whenever I see anything like that, I pick it up. And the reason for that is I want to make some kind of a drawer to go under my workbench to put some more screwdrivers and stuff in it, because I don't have the wall space to hang them up. I just don't have it. As you well know, my shop is not only very small, it's very, very crowded. So I want to make some kind of a drawer, and this would be good. This is pressure treated, but no big deal. So I'm going to be working on that, but not right away, because I have to decide how I want to do that. So I think I'm going to end this video now. I just wanted to give you an update on the radio, and apparently it's working with there's very faint static in there, but nothing that I can let you hear. The real racket has cleared up, and I know what's going to happen when I get it back into the cabinet. As I said before, it's going to be making all kinds of racket, and I know it's not because it went back into the cabinet. It was making this noise when I first put it on the bench. And even though I cleaned the controls again, it's been very quiet for 3 nights in a row. And today, well, you just heard how it is, and it's working fine. So I think I'm about ready to just put it back in the case, and if it gets noisy again, I just won't use it. Simple as that. All right. Thank you very much for watching. You have a good day, and I hope you have a better day than I did as far as yard sales. For those of you who go to yard sales, as long as the weather is nice, we should have yard sales. It's a beautiful day. Well, it's getting hot. It's getting hotter than I like it. The sun is very, very hot. It's not really humid, but it is warmer than I like it to be. It's probably about 80 degrees when I don't like anything over 75. So, all right. Thanks for watching, and if we have any goodies to show you, today is Saturdays. If I have anything coming up for the Jewett City Flea Market, which I'm going tomorrow, that's why I seem to get the better deals. For the most part, I'll make a video on it. You know that. Take care. Have a good day.